We're gonna do a little bit of news today, just to get an idea of what's going on in the world, and then probably just start playing music again, off YouTube, of course. Um, and I do actually want to try to get to some Elden Ring. I'll try again today. Yesterday I wasn't having it, especially when I saw all of these evolutions in FIFA. Oh,
Good evening. I'm Jeff Bennett. Amna Nawaz is away. On the NewsHour tonight, Democrats on Capitol Hill push Trump administration intelligence officials for answers on why they used a commercial messaging app to discuss war plans. The Wall Street veteran nominated to lead the Social Security Administration is questioned about potential cuts at the agency. And we speak with Finland's president about efforts to end the war Russia started in Ukraine.
European security is in the interest of American security and vice versa.
Major funding for the PBS NewsHour has been provided by the ongoing support of these individuals and institutions, and friends of the NewsHour, including Kathy and Paul Anderson, and Camilla and George Smith.
You know, as somebody coming out of college, it can be very nerve-wracking, not knowing what to expect, whether you'll like your job or not, whether you'll make friends, whether you'll fit in. And here, I feel like it's so welcoming and such an inclusive place to work. You just feel like you're valued.
The Charles F. Kettering Foundation, working to advance inclusive democracies. Learn more at kettering.org.
The John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, fostering informed and engaged communities. More at kf.org.
And with the ongoing support of these individuals and institutions. This program was made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the NewsHour. A typically ordinary Senate hearing on worldwide threats to the U.S. became contentious today following news of a major national security breach. The editor-in-chief of The Atlantic revealed yesterday that he was accidentally put into a chat on the Signal messaging app with top U.S. officials as they discussed military strikes in Yemen. Two of those officials testified in the Senate hearing today. Our congressional correspondent, Lisa Desjardins, has our report.
I can just say this, if this was the case...
Stop it! Oh my
A
gosh!
military officer or an intelligence officer and they had this kind of behavior, they would be fired.
Oh my gosh, man.
Democrats on the Senate Intelligence Committee today hammered CIA Director John Ratcliffe and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard over the Signal chat security breach.
Director Radcliffe, were you on the group chat?
Senator, I was on a Signal messaging group.
So you were the John Ratcliffe on that chat?
I was.
Thank you, thank you.
Throughout the heated hearing, Ratcliffe and Gabbard stayed cool, confirming they do use the encrypted app for work purposes and stating it's allowed for high-level use. Initially, both denied the chat contained classified information.
To be clear, I haven't participated in any Signal group messaging that relates to any classified information at all.
Director Gabbard?
Senator, I have the same answer. I have not participated in any Signal group chat or any other chat on another app that contained any classified information.
In The Atlantic's bombshell report, editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg wrote the text chain disclosed, quote, information about targets, weapons the U.S. would be deploying, and attack sequencing. Asked about those specifics, Gabbard and Ratcliffe gave versions of the same non-answer.
I don't recall.
I don't recall giving that instruction.
In that setting, I don't recall.
With a few definitive moments.
The deliberation between principals in our national security apparatus about whether or not to strike another country, would you consider that to be classified information?
Pre-decisional strike deliberation should be conducted through classified channels.
Is your testimony that it was appropriate that he was added to this Signal threat?
Democrats say the chat posed an unacceptable national security risk.
Did you know that the president's Middle East advisor was in Moscow on this thread while you were, as director of the CIA, participating in this thread? Were you aware of that? Are you aware of that today?
I'm not aware of that today.
This sloppiness, this incompetence, this disrespect for our intelligence agencies and the personnel who work for them is entirely unacceptable. It's an embarrassment.
Senator,
you need to do better.
Later in the hearing, Gabbard and Ratcliffe seemed to say that nothing classified from their agencies was involved, but they couldn't speak for the Pentagon.
Is stunning to me. And the idea somehow, well, none of this was classified, but we can't talk about it here. You can't have it both ways.
I think the witness's point is that they can't speak for every official in the government who has original classification authority.
Most Republicans didn't ask about the leak. A few said they would talk only behind closed doors.
I'm going to address it, but I'm going to address it in the closed session.
Outside the hearing room, one Republican who stopped had little to say.
I mean, you heard what I heard. I don't really have anything to add to that. I just think there's going to be have to be more investigation into the facts and circumstances.
But at least one House Republican was critical with me earlier today.
China and Russia is clearly on these networks. You put people's lives at risk when you do this, so it's wrong. There's no ambiguity here.
Former intelligence chair and ranking Democrat Mark Warner went much further, particularly about Hegseth, who reportedly shared the most specifics.
For me, particularly, if Secretary Hegseth let this information out, he should resign.
For his part, Hegseth has slammed the report, late yesterday saying it was flat wrong.
Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that.
We'll look into it.
President Trump, speaking today in the White House Cabinet Room, played down the breach.
There was no classified information.
And called on National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, whose account added Goldberg. Waltz praised Trump, blasted the press, and offered no contrition. All of this eclipsed a hearing that was supposed to focus on outside threats, like Iran, which Gabbard said is not building a nuclear weapon currently, but
Iran's enriched uranium stockpile is at its highest levels and is unprecedented for a state without nuclear weapons.
And like cartels, named the top threat this year. Independent Angus King of Maine noticed something not in the report.
Has global climate change been solved? Why is that not in this report? And who made the decision that it should not be in the report when it's been in every one of the 11 prior reports?
Dominating not just the hearing, but much of Capitol Hill today was still the Signal chat.
It is absolutely unacceptable.
With a dozen House Democrats who served in the military calling for an investigation, adding another question to the story. How will Capitol Hill Republicans in charge handle this breach by their own? For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Lisa Desjardins on Capitol Hill.
And we asked each of the Republican senators on the Intelligence Committee to join us for an interview tonight, but none accepted our invitation. We start the day's other headlines with a breakthrough between Russia and Ukraine. After 3 days of separate talks with the U.S., both sides now say they've reached an agreement to ensure safe navigation in the Black Sea and to take steps towards stopping strikes on energy facilities, a limited ceasefire in pursuit of a comprehensive peace deal. In Kyiv today, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky praised the development and the U.S. for brokering it, but he indicated there are still questions about the deal's enforcement.
These are the first steps, not the very first, but initial ones with this presidential administration towards completely ending the war. It doesn't say in the statement what happens if someone violates. I understand why, because the American side really wanted all this not to fall apart. These are the first agreements. They don't want them to fall apart.
The Kremlin warned the deal is contingent on the West easing its sanctions on Russian food and fertilizer exports. The U.S. pledged to help make that happen. Zelensky insisted the deal did not require sanctions relief. The Oscar-winning Palestinian director of the documentary No Other Land was released by Israeli authorities a day after soldiers detained him in the occupied West Bank. Hamdan Balal left an Israeli police station today with bruises on his face and blood on his clothes, he says, from being beaten by Israeli settlers and troops. Meantime, on Capitol Hill, President Trump's nominee to be ambassador to Israel assured senators at his confirmation hearing that his personal views would not affect his work. Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee is an evangelical Christian who has supported Israel's right to annex the West Bank.
It'll be my duty to carry out the president's policies, not mine. One of the things that I will recognize, an ambassador doesn't create the policy, he carries the policy of his country and his president.
In Gaza, Israeli airstrikes overnight killed at least 23 more Palestinians. Health officials say nearly 700 people have been killed in just the past week. Tens of thousands of Gazans are under new evacuation orders as Israel resumes and ramps up its campaign against Hamas. A court has ordered the prominent South Korean-based church known as the Unification Church to dissolve in Japan. That church has faced scrutiny following the 2022 assassination of former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. An investigation revealed ties between the church and Abe's party, the Liberal Democratic Party, that spanned decades. The man accused of shooting Abe blamed the church's fundraising practices for bankrupting his family. The Unification Church called the ruling regrettable and unjust, representing a serious threat to religious freedom. Pope Francis came so close to death during his recent hospitalization that his medical team briefly considered ending treatment so that he could die peacefully. The doctor coordinating the pontiff's hospital care said today that a breathing crisis in late February forced them to choose whether to stop and let him go or to push it, taking the very high risk of damaging other organs. Pope Francis made his first public appearance in more than 5 weeks on Sunday from his hospital window in Rome. He's under doctor's orders to avoid large gatherings for the next 2 months while he recovers. And it was another day of gains on Wall Street, but those gains were minimal. The Dow Jones Industrial Average finished up by less than 5 points, while the Nasdaq notched the biggest gain. The S&P 500 also had a positive but quiet finish on the day. Still to come on the NewsHour, a potential turning point in Sudan's civil war. We look at the history of public media as Republicans scrutinize its federal funding. And the bankruptcy of 23andMe raises questions about the future of millions of people's personal data.
This is the PBS NewsHour from the David M. Rubenstein Studio at WETA in Washington, and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.
President Trump's nominee to lead the Social Security Administration faced tough questions today on Capitol Hill about the future of that agency and about the staffing cuts and other changes carried out by Elon Musk and his DOGE team. White House correspondent Laura Barone-Lopez has more.
The committee will come to order.
The harsh words came before Frank Bisignano even had a chance to speak.
The websites are crashing and seniors are getting lost in the system. It is clear that this is happening around America today. It is time to bring a halt to DOGE destruction of Social Security before it goes any further.
As Democratic senators challenged President Trump's nominee to lead the Social Security Administration on the drastic changes at the agency. All as Elon Musk goes on a cost-cutting campaign across the government that is expected to impact the program, which serves about 73 million retired and disabled beneficiaries.
What I will commit to is that I will run the agency and I will be in charge of the agency.
Bisignano, who recently called himself, quote, a DOGE person, pledged to protect private information and improve customer experience, but was quickly forced to defend recent actions directed by Musk's team, known as the Department of Government Efficiency.
Last week, the acting commissioner of Social Security, who is openly working with Elon Musk, actually threatened to shut down the entire agency,
including plans to lay off nearly half of its workforce, close physical offices across the country, and slash phone services.
When you have a system that is not working now, do you think it's a great idea to lay off half of the employees?
I don't know if, do I think it's a great idea to lay off half of the employees when a system doesn't work? I think the answer is probably no.
President Trump has repeatedly pledged to not cut back benefits from the popular program, which keeps millions of older Americans out of poverty. But Musk has been publicly hostile to the agency, calling it the biggest Ponzi scheme. More recently, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said if Social Security checks were paused, only fraudsters would scream and yell.
The easiest way to find the fraudster is to stop payments and listen. Because whoever screams is the one stealing.
Comments that Democratic senators pounced on in today's hearing.
Do you agree with Secretary Lutnick that only fraudsters complain when the government fails to send Social Security checks?
I don't think anyone would appreciate not getting their Social Security check on time.
Bisignano, a longtime financial executive and current CEO of Fiserv, was also asked repeatedly whether or not he intended to privatize the system, something he declined to flatly rule out.
I've never thought about privatizing. It's not a word that anybody's ever talked to me about, and I don't see this institution as anything other than a government agency that gets run for the benefit of the American public.
Republicans praised his track record.
You have exactly the right sort of skills that we need.
And they accused their Democratic colleagues of fear-mongering.
The attack all day has been on DOGE and undercutting Social Security and shutting it down or privatizing it or whatever it is. The bottom line is the President of the United States has said very clearly that we are not going to cut Social Security benefits.
But Senator Maria Cantwell, who said DOGE had wrongly pegged one of her constituents as deceased, stopping his payments for months, said the impacts were already being felt.
He had to go down to the building in Seattle, the federal building, that you're trying to close, and stand in line for hours and hours and hours to try to say he wasn't dead and to stop taking his money.
Bisignano is expected to soon be confirmed as millions of Americans wait to see what comes next for benefits and services.
With that, this hearing is adjourned.
Thank you, sir.
For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Laura Barone-Lopez.
After nearly 2 years of brutal civil war between Sudan's army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, a potential turning point. The army recaptured the presidential palace and the center of the capital city, Khartoum, last week. Our William Brangham gets a dispatch from the ground.
Tens of thousands of people have been killed in Sudan's civil war, and the fighting has triggered the biggest humanitarian crisis in the world, with an estimated 14.6 million people displaced. Both sides are credibly accused of committing war crimes, and the U.S. has accused the paramilitaries of committing a genocide. The New York Times' Declan Walsh is in Khartoum, and he joins us now. Declan, thank you so much for being here. You and photographer Ivor Prickett were among the first into Khartoum after the army made these substantial gains and retook the center of the city and the presidential palace. Can you tell us what it is you first saw when you entered the city?
We found when we crossed the River Nile into that city centre area that until just days earlier had been held by the RSF for the previous 2 years, we found these scenes of utter destruction, almost apocalyptic. We drove along the Nile, all of the buildings, the government buildings that symbolize power and authority in Sudan, the army headquarters, various ministries, and finally getting to the presidential palace, they all lay in ruins. There were destroyed cars everywhere. Many shops had been looted. And it was just this picture of a city that has been really bent low after 2 years of war.
You reported that there is still fighting ongoing outside of the city. So is there any sense that this victory by the army could be a turning point in the war?
I think there's little doubt, William, that this is certainly a major moment in the war. The paramilitaries had held the capital from the first days of the conflict in April 2023 until just last week. And now they've lost it. So that is certainly going to change the dynamic of the war. Until, certainly the end of last year, the United States and Arab and African countries were leading efforts to try and find some sort of diplomatic or negotiated settlement to this conflict. But that does not appear to be in view right now. The leaders on both sides have made it clear that they want to try and settle this militarily. And in fact, the Sudanese military, its leader, just some days ago, in a speech, made it clear that he sees this the gains against RSF as a step towards retaking the capital entirely, and then, as he puts it, to ending the war.
This war, as you have so ably documented, has been an absolute humanitarian nightmare for the people of Sudan. What is the current status of that humanitarian crisis?
It's extremely serious. Since we've been here, we have traveled around parts of the city that had changed hands in recent weeks and months, and we met many people who were in a dire situation. People with no water, no electricity, in many cases for the last 2 years, malnourished children in extremely badly provisioned hospitals, some of them literally gasping for life. And their parents told us that they had been living in areas where they were unable to get any food, or certainly very meager food rations, because of the fighting. There are aid groups that have accused both sides in the war of using food as a weapon of war, of denying food access to humanitarian groups in areas that are controlled by their enemies. And we certainly saw on the ground here the really dire consequences of all of those factors coming together. And that's just here in Khartoum, in the capital. Out in the west of Sudan, in particular in the area of Darfur, conditions are in many cases even worse. A famine has officially been declared already in parts of Darfur.
Do you have any sense as to whether the Sudanese army, if they are able to continue to hold the upper hand, would be interested in trying to ameliorate that humanitarian crisis?
Certainly both sides in this war are very keen to show that they are for the people. And the Sudan military has said that it intends to, after it recaptures the capital, we spoke with senior generals today who told us they think it could be just a matter of weeks before the capital is fully back in the military's hands. They say that they will start to rebuild. They've already started to encourage some people, some Sudanese who've been displaced to cities hundreds of miles away, to start returning home. But to be honest, when you look around the scale and intensity of the devastation in this city, one of the huge questions that looms is just how the Sudanese are going to set about rebuilding this broken city. There are no estimates yet of how much that would cost, but you can only imagine that it would be a huge figure, and it's hard to know right now where that money might come from.
All right, that is New York Times reporter Declan Walsh from Khartoum, along with photographer Ivor Prickett. Thank you so much for sharing your reporting with us.
Thank you, William.
We return to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The Russians and Ukrainians appear to have agreed on which types of energy-related facilities will be safe from attack during a limited ceasefire. And as we reported earlier, there's now an agreement to ensure safe navigation of ships in the Black Sea. I spoke earlier with the president of Finland, Alexander Stubb, about all of this, the threat from Russia, and broader U.S. relations with Europe. President Stubb, welcome to the NewsHour.
Thanks.
As broader peace talks continue in Saudi Arabia, the U.S. today said an agreement has been reached to ensure safe navigation in the Black Sea. Does that provide any hope toward a more encompassing ceasefire deal?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we have to split the process into two. First, it's a ceasefire, and only after that can you negotiate an actual peace agreement and a peace settlement. And it looks like we're taking the ceasefire step by step. So first there was an idea of not bombing energy and infrastructure. Now we're going to the Black Sea. So I think what the Americans have brokered here is a good first step towards some kind of a full-on ceasefire.
And the U.S. is also acknowledging that it will pursue sanctions relief for Russian food, fertilizer, and shipping companies. Is that an appropriate accommodation for Russia in your view?
Well, you know, I can't take a stand on what the American administration does on sanctions. On the European side, I don't see any lifting of sanctions at this stage. As a matter of fact, we're working on a 17th package. But it is with certain joy that I hear that American senators are putting up a sanction package led by Senator Lindsey Graham, where the idea is that if the ceasefire is broken, then a new wave of sanctions will be put down. Because in my experience, the only thing that Putin and Russia understands is power.
Let's talk more about that, because there is concern across Europe about the current administration's stance on Vladimir Putin. President Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, in a recent interview with Tucker Carlson, called Vladimir Putin super smart, said he didn't regard him as a bad guy. And he also suggested that there are Ukrainians who want to live under Russian rule. Take a listen to what he said.
I think the largest issue in that conflict are these so-called four regions: Donbass, Crimea, you know, the names, Lugansk, and there's two others. They're Russian-speaking. Yep. There have been referendums where the overwhelming majority of the people have indicated that they want to be under Russian rule. Yes. I think that's the key issue. Who doesn't want to have a world where Russia and the United States are doing collaboratively good things together?
What's your reaction to that?
Finland has a 1,340-kilometer long border with Russia, and we've coexisted with Russia and the Soviet Union. Since the 1300s, we've had roughly 30 wars and skirmishes. So my take is that with Russia, you always have to be alert and you have to be quite careful. Perhaps Mr. Witkoff looks at things a little bit from a real estate perspective and sees this a little bit as a zero-sum game. And in my experience with the Russians, it's a little bit more complicated than that. The only thing that Russia understands is power. There's a saying that if you have a bayonet in your hand in Russia and it's soft, you push it through. If it hits something hard, you pull back. And I think right now is the time to be hard, not soft with Russia.
Given Finland's long border with Russia, how have you adjusted your defense strategy in light of the invasion?
Well, we really haven't, apart from, of course, joining the alliance. You have to remember that having had such a long border and experience with Russia, we've always had one of the strongest militaries in Europe. We have 62 F-18s. We bought 64 F-35s from the US. We have long-range missiles, land, air, and sea. And we have the biggest artillery in Europe together with Poland. And as I always say, we don't have them because we're worried about Stockholm. We have them because we want to have a deterrent towards Russia.
You have said that the only real solution to deter Moscow was to militarize Ukraine to its teeth. How can Europe do that without the full support of the U.S.? Is it possible?
Well, we have to work hand in hand. The first observation to make is that, of course, the biggest military power in Europe right now is Ukraine. Just give you one example. 3 years ago when the war started, they were not able to produce any drones. Last year, they produced 1.5 million. This year, they will produce 4.5 million. So, of course, we need to continue to support Ukraine, but it is, in all honesty, very important, of course, that the United States continues to support Ukraine, because what we want to do is we want to avoid this thing happening again. And the only way in which you do it is by making sure that
think bro's forehead is bigger than humanity trying to build up to the heavens before God made the language barriers. Yo, leave him. Yo, yeah. Looking at that receding hairline, man, it hits. I wonder what percentage of humans it hits. I'm pretty sure it hits a lot of us.
That Ukraine is strong enough that there's no incentive for Russia to attack again.
You mentioned that Finland is buying some 60-plus F-35s from the U.S. A number of European leaders, your counterparts, are now apparently looking to buy weapons from elsewhere because they view the U.S. as being a less than reliable partner. For example, just today, a conservative member of parliament in Denmark tweeted in response to the speculation about F-35 having a kill switch that would allow the U.S. to potentially disable it. But in this tweet, he says, "I don't know if there's a kill switch in the F-35s or not. We obviously cannot take your word for it. I can easily imagine a situation where the USA will demand Greenland from Denmark and will threaten to deactivate our weapons and let Russia attack us when we refuse. Therefore, buying American weapons is a security risk that we cannot run." Do you share that view?
Well, no, I don't share that view. I mean, two observations on this. Finland has been working on military and defense industry and cooperation with the United States since the early 1990s when we bought our over 60 F-18s. Always a very reliable partner in so many ways. As a matter of fact, in my first phone conversation with President Trump, we discussed the F-35s, and we are on track for the first delivery before the end of this year, and we'll continue to work with the American military industry. Just a little gentle reminder, I think, two things. One is that military planning is always long-term, so you don't, make these orders and then just suddenly say, sorry, we're not going to do it. I mean, these are really, really long processes. We're talking 5, 10, even 15 years, so you can't sort of just switch them off. The second one is that I don't think that there's a disincentive for the US military industry to wind down in Europe. The reason is that Europe actually buys double the amount of stuff from the US in terms of military equipment, in terms of vehicles, in terms of the F-35s than the US does itself.
On the matter of defense spending, historically, Europe has relied on the U.S. for security, leading to a underinvestment in Europe's own defense capabilities. Some European countries have increased their own defense spending. But what's really required in shifting that paradigm, as President Trump has called for?
Well, my first observation is to say that President Trump is right. And the pressure that he has put on allies in NATO has been very welcome. But there are a lot of our European allies that haven't done enough. So when President Trump started to put pressure on the allies in 2016, there were only about 3 NATO countries that went over the 2% threshold. Now we're 23. The US wants Europe to take more responsibility for its own security and defense, and I think the US is right on that. But the transition is long, and this is not binary. We're allies, we're in this together, hand to hand. European security is in the interest of American security and vice versa.
Looking ahead, how do you see the geopolitical landscape in Europe changing as a result of the war in Ukraine? and compounded by the current administration's approach toward Moscow.
Two things come to mind. The first one is I've never seen the European Union or Europe as united as we are right now. If someone would have told me 3 years ago that Finland would join NATO, that Sweden would join NATO, that Ukraine would become a member of the European Union, etc., etc., I said, not in your wildest dreams. The second observation to make is that, in the first 5 weeks of the Trump presidency, he has probably done more to give incentive for Europe to take care of its own security and defense than we have seen in the past 30 or 50 years overall. So there is a paradigm shift. I think the most important thing to keep in mind here is that values bind, and that's why I think interests bind as well. So it's going to have to be a continued partnership, transatlantic partnership between Europe and the United States, where Europe takes more responsibility. Because we all understand that when it comes to Putin, all he wants basically is imperialism, and we don't want that.
The President of Finland, Alexander Stubb, thank you for your time and for your insights this evening.
My pleasure.
The genetic testing company 23andMe has filed for bankruptcy, and its potential sale has raised alarms about what could happen to the DNA data of its millions of users. 23andMe was once a pioneer in the DNA testing kit industry, allowing customers to send in samples to get information about their heredity and genetics. Yet the company faced backlash after hackers leaked the genetic data of millions of users in 2023. More than 15 million people have provided genetic information to the company. Privacy and cybersecurity experts are now concerned about what this could all mean. Ginny Faz is watching this closely for Consumer Reports and joins us now. Thanks for being with us. So what does the sale of 23andMe mean for people's privacy?
Well, there are 15 million people who have used 23andMe to create DNA data. People are interested in understanding their family history and their genetics, but the mere creation of this data means that there is highly sensitive information out there. And because 23andMe is going through bankruptcy and that data could be changing hands, it means that some of the most sensitive data that a consumer can create may be at risk.
Are there any rules or protections about what could happen to the data if a sale does take place?
There are. So in the United States, many states have passed privacy laws. And what these privacy laws allow is the ability to delete your data entirely from a company. And so what that means is if you are a 23andMe customer and you are worried about this sensitive information being out there and possibly changing hands, you can initiate a deletion of your data with 23andMe. And you would do that by going to their website.
And it's also true that the company has already used and even shared some of the data before now. What more do we know about that?
Well, according to 23andMe's privacy policy, in addition to genomic data, which is the A's, C's, T's, and G's that we all learn about in science classes, they also collect a lot of personal information about their customers. So that's things like your home address, your family history, your payment information, those sorts of things. So they're sitting on a pretty robust amount of data for each of their customers. And because the privacy policy gives them dispensation to use that data in lots of different ways, it's hard to know as a customer how exactly that data is being used. You would have to read a multi-page privacy policy with a lot of legalese to understand. And in the case of this bankruptcy, it's possible that that data will change hands and be beholden to different policies. So there's a lot of uncertainty out there, and that's why we are advising 23andMe customers to delete their data as soon as possible.
How would people do that?
So if you want to delete your data from 23andMe, you should log into your account on their website and go to settings where you can navigate to deleting your data. In some states, that deletion of data will also allow the actual original test sample to be deleted, and there's a way to specify that you want that removed on the 23andMe site as well.
Should consumers of other DNA testing companies be concerned?
Well, something I will say is that when you create DNA data, it is hard to know what will happen to the institution that you've given that data to. So even if you feel really good in the moment about a company having access to this sensitive information, that company could fold, that company could sell, that data could change hands, and it's hard to know where it will end up. Imagine a world where the 23andMe data is somehow acquired by an insurance company. That data could be used to deny you insurance coverage. It could be used to charge you higher premiums for life insurance, for long-term care insurance, for disability insurance. And so if you're going to create DNA data or genetic data, it's important to think through everything that could happen in the future, even if you trust the group that you'd be working with.
That, in fact, was my next question for you. I mean, how might this information be used? Beyond the example you just gave of an insurance company, what are the other possible uses and concerns?
Well, something about this data is, DNA data is unique to every person. And so what that means is there's a lot of clues that can be read as far as your health in this data. So this data may reveal diseases you already have or diseases you could be predisposed to. It can often reveal who you're related to, possibly even where your relatives live, other information about your relatives. It could reveal family secrets. There's a lot that could come from this data falling into the wrong hands. And so that's why if you have created your DNA data with 23andMe especially, we advise you to delete that as soon as possible.
Jenny Foz, Director of Product and R&D at Consumer Reports. Thanks for joining us this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
President Trump today voiced his support for defunding America's public broadcasters. It comes a day before the heads of PBS and NPR testify in front of the House Subcommittee on Delivering Government Efficiency, or DOGE. The hearing will examine alleged bias in public media, with calls for federal funding cuts growing louder. That funding, in part, helps support the work of PBS News. We wanted to take a moment to explain exactly how public media is funded and, more broadly, how we got to this point. William Brangham is back with that.
Help me God. So help me God. Congratulations.
In the weeks since President Trump took office, his allies have repeatedly taken aim at the nation's public broadcasters, accusing them of liberal bias.
Pushing leftism.
Liberal indoctrination.
Propaganda from the left, and that's why
Elon Musk has also called for defunding PBS and NPR. Now, allegations of bias and threats to public media are about as old as the industry itself, so it's important to understand the history.
Remington electric shaver.
For a lot of the 1900s, broadcasting in the U.S. was dominated by commercial networks. They sold on-air ads and used that revenue to pay for programming, but some wanted an alternative. So in the 1960s, the Carnegie Corporation launched a study of non-commercial TV in the U.S. and how to bring it to more Americans.
A system that, in their view, could focus more on educational programming, making sure that all members of society have access to broadcast media, going places where there simply were not incentives for a commercial media system.
A key recommendation of the Carnegie Report was for the federal government to provide funds to help operate stations across the country. In 1967, President Lyndon Johnson signed the Public Broadcasting Act, which did just that.
Today, we rededicate a part of the airwaves which belong to all the people.
The law led to the creation of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, or CPB. It's a nonprofit composed of Republicans and Democrats that's responsible for distributing federal dollars out to local stations.
The vision of public broadcasting was that it was a decentralized network of local stations, and local stations themselves should really be at the heart of what public media was.
Almost instantly, public broadcasting began featuring a kind of television no one in the U.S. had seen before.
Oh, hi, Gordon. How are you?
Children's programming like Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
A beautiful day for a neighbor, would you be mine?
Arts and culture shows like The French Chef with Julia Child.
And this is going to be an all-purpose batter.
And Masterpiece Theater.
5 modern English novelists.
As well as news.
Good evening from Washington.
In 1973, Robert McNeil teamed up with Jim Lehrer for gavel-to-gavel coverage of the Watergate hearings. That broadcast eventually became the McNeil-Lehrer Report and later the PBS NewsHour.
Good evening, I'm Jeff Bennett.
And I'm Amna Nawaz on the news.
But there was always something missing, a permanent funding mechanism. The original Carnegie report had suggested a tax on TV sales to make sure the money wasn't ensnared in the yearly appropriations battle, but that didn't make it into the 1967 law.
When the Public Broadcasting Act passed with no real plan in place to politically insulate public media, it set the stage for, I think, 6 decades now of threats to public media funding, often for political reasons.
So public broadcasting had to regularly fight for its funding. In 1969, one of its biggest stars testified on Capitol Hill.
I feel that if we in public television can only make it clear that feelings are mentionable and manageable, we will have done a great service.
I think it's wonderful. Looks like you just earned the $20 million.
But the fight never stopped.
In the 1990s, what we see are social conservatives who have anxiety about the political direction of some public television programming, joining forces with economic conservatives who think that the transformations in the media landscape that had taken place from 1967 to the present no longer required federal support. The mix of an economic rationale with a cultural rationale to try to dismantle federal support for public media continues throughout the successive decades.
Every Republican administration except Gerald Ford's has tried to cut public media funding. Here's what then presidential candidate Mitt Romney said in a 2012 debate moderated by Jim Lehrer.
I'm sorry, Jim. I'm going to stop the subsidy to PBS. I'm going to stop other things. I like PBS. I love Big Bird. I actually like you, too. But I'm not...
In his first term, President Trump proposed defunding public media. This year, Republicans have introduced multiple bills to do the same.
Government doesn't need to subsidize the media anymore because the world's changed. But I still probably wouldn't object that much if the reporting by these entities was fair and was balanced, but it is not.
We should note here, independent analyses have found both PBS and NPR to be among the most objective and reliable news sources in America. But back to the question of funding. For 2025, Congress appropriated $535 million to CPB. That's less than 1/100% out of the total federal budget. It costs, on average, per American, a little over $1.50 a year. Most of those funds are distributed to some 1,500 local stations nationwide, which produce shows themselves and pay NPR and PBS for the rights to air national shows. But federal funding makes up just a fraction of public media's budgets. The average public radio station gets about 8% of its revenue from the CPB appropriation. For TV stations, it's roughly 17%. So to make up the difference, the system relies heavily on donations, grants, and sponsorships.
The U.S. is almost literally off the chart for how little we allocate towards our public media. At the federal level, it comes out to a little over $1.50 per person per year. Compare that to the Brits, who spend roughly $100 per person per year for the BBC. Northern European countries spend well over $100 per person per year. And it really shows in the health of their public broadcasting systems. They tend to view those systems as essential democratic infrastructure. And indeed, data show that there is a positive correlation between the health of a public broadcasting system and the health of a democratic governance.
Now on Frontline.
Federal funding today helps pay for everything from investigative documentaries on Frontline to full-length live concerts. It funds historical dramas and Ken Burns' historical films
that bring our history to life.
Public broadcasting also provides emergency broadcasting services. It's often the last source of news and information during moments of natural disaster. It's committed to this kind of universal service mission that, again, a commercial media system is very unlikely to adhere to.
And that mission reaches 99% of the country, with public media stations broadcasting everywhere from South Florida to northern Alaska. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm William Brangham.
Famed magazine editor Graydon Carter rose through the ranks at Time, Life, Spy, The New York Observer, and ultimately Vanity Fair, becoming known for his sharp wit and keen eye for talent. Under his leadership, Vanity Fair transformed into a cultural juggernaut, known both for its celebrity profiles and quality journalism. Now Carter is sharing his story in a new memoir, When the Going Was Good, an editor's adventures during the last golden age of magazines. I spoke with him last week. Graydon Carter, welcome to the NewsHour.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Let's start our conversation where you open your memoir, the heavy anxiety you were feeling as Vanity Fair was about to out Mark Felt as the Watergate informant Deep Throat, scooping the Washington Post on their own story. What was going through your mind at that moment, and what did that story represent in the life of Vanity Fair?
Well, it was a great scoop for us, but it was also a sort of display of how we played a very long game. It had started 2 years earlier when I'd gotten a call from a lawyer who said he represented a man called Mark Felt, who I'd never heard of before, and said that he was Deep Throat. And we talked for a while, and I thought we'll follow up on it, because I used to take any phone call that came in just in case there was a lead onto something. And I signed one of my editors to the story, David Friend, and he worked with the lawyer off and on for 2 years on this, finding out about Mark Felt, trying to verify that he was in fact Deep Throat. And we had issues because he was suffering from creeping dementia at the time, so it wasn't 100% solid. And then I got married and went on my honeymoon, and I was waiting at the Nassau airport to come back to New York, and I got a call from David Friend on my wife's cell phone, because I didn't have one at the time, and saying that we released the story that morning, and they were waiting for confirmation from Woodward and Bernstein. And finally, just before we got on the plane, they confirmed that Mark Felt was Deep Throat. So it was a huge hit for us, and it went around the world. It was on every newspaper, everywhere, and it was one of journalism's last great secrets.
So before Vanity Fair, you co-founded Spy magazine back in 1986, which had this reputation for fearless satire, aimed mostly at the rich and powerful. Tell me about that transition from Spy to Vanity Fair, the shift from outsider provocateur to establishment tastemaker.
Well, I didn't quite feel I was in the establishment when I came to Vanity Fair, but I had a period in between where I took over the New York Observer, that period that sort of helped the transition into Vanity Fair. But when I got to Vanity Fair, it was not a pleasant experience for the first couple of years, because we'd spent 5 years at Spy writing about Vanity Fair, its editors, its writers, the house voice, and so I wasn't the most popular candidate when I arrived.
We are living in this moment now where billionaire media owners are increasingly becoming the gatekeepers of information, and they shape the public discourse to serve their own benefit. But you describe your old boss, Condé Nast chairman Cy Newhouse, as this unwavering champion who provided you with editorial and financial freedom. How did he influence you and ultimately shape your career?
Well, one thing that differentiated Cy from a number of sort of new billionaire owners is Cy absolutely loved what he made. He was in charge of Condé Nast, which are magazines, and Random House. He loved books and he loved magazines, and that's a baseline to become a great proprietor. He loved editors. He gave them everything they needed to succeed. If you did, that was wonderful, but if you didn't, you could never fault him. Even if you last there, like I did for 25 years, there's a million little failures along the way. He was unwavering in his support, and that made all the difference, because all you really care about is the confidence of your proprietor.
You mentioned the million little failures. There were lots of successes, too, at Vanity Fair, to include the new establishment list, the annual Hollywood issues that you crafted. What was the thinking behind those franchises?
Desperation at first. The Oscar party came first, and that was I'd gone to Swifty Lazar's last Oscar party, and he invented the whole notion of the Oscar party. I went to his last one, then he died in December, And I decided that we could probably take his place the next March. And so we scrambled to pull it together, and we had like 150 people for dinner and maybe 150 or 200 people from the Academy Awards afterwards. And my philosophy is always that if you're going to fail, best do it with the smallest audience possible. But it was a success, and so each year it grew and grew, and it became eventually an institution.
What were the hallmarks of the golden age of print magazines?
The ability to assign writers to write at great length, if they were writers who could write at great length, to send them anywhere in the world, but also all the other editors were at the absolute tops of their game. So everybody was good. The competition was extreme for readers, for advertisers, and for writers and photographers. So that sort of got you up and going every day. And there was a 40-year period there where magazines were thick and writers were paid well and photographers were paid well. And they helped shape the culture more than newspapers did, more than television in a way. There was a newsstand on every major street corner in every lobby of every office building, and those are all gone now. So it was even the ways of seeing a magazine have changed, because you just walk by a newsstand, you see all these covers, and it immediately gave you like a snapshot of what the culture looked like at that particular moment.
Writing this memoir, I imagine, was a process of reflection. What about you, your attitude, or your approach has been key to your success?
I think a good editor is a fearful one, both a curious one and a fearful one. Curious in that you're interested in many things, and fearful in that you think that the story you've assigned today, somebody else is going to do it earlier and better. And so that's what kept you going, is just the thrill of the chase. It's still what keeps me going.
Graydon Carter, the memoir is When the Going Was Good, an editor's adventures during the last golden age of magazines. Thanks again for your time.
Jeff, thank you.
Remember, there's a lot more online, including a look at President Trump's attempt.
It's good to be aware of the news, you know?
To ban transgender service members from the U.S. military. That's at pbs.org/newshour. And that is the NewsHour for tonight. I'm Jeff Bennett. For all of us here at the PBS NewsHour, thanks for spending part of your evening with us.
Major funding for the PBS NewsHour has been provided by
moving our economy for 160 years. BNSF, the engine that connects us.
Two retiring executives
Why can't you stay organized? I've experienced this myself, and it's called chronic impulse control, where you prioritize short-term actions like gaming and social media until it's the end of the workday, and you still haven't gotten anything done. And I'd waste the day prioritizing my short-term pleasures over my long-term goals. So let me show you how I solved that. See, this isn't like
fucking shit retard that he blocked me. No, I just didn't want to see his fucking spam, dude. What does he think I'm a Dude, you are 60 years old, man. You own the fucking platform. What are you talking about? There's a follow-up. He posted that I blocked him. This guy is such a fucking loser. I can't believe it. I can't. Oh my God. I'm gonna have Grimes on again on the broadcast. You keep this shit up, Elon. You keep this shit up. I'm gonna have Grimes on the broadcast. I'm gonna have your daughter on the broadcast. You keep this shit up. You keep it going. I'm gonna interview everybody, okay? Time to learn, Blue Sky buddy. No, this is the whole point. No, I did block him. Yes, it's not a lie. It's right here on screen. Of course I blocked him. I don't want to see his fucking post, dude. What do you mean? If there's a post that is relevant, if there's a post that's relevant, Megaphonics will let me know. Okay, trust me. Yeah, I blocked him because I couldn't. It was so much. It was always. He posts so much. He constantly fucking tweets, and he's such a narcissistic man-child that it's just unbearable. It's unbearable. I constantly see his fucking dumbass posts. Hold on, I'm gonna force everyone to see your dumbass tweets 7K times a day. If you say something particularly stupid, I blocked you at Elon Musk, because you bought this website and forced everyone to see your dumbass tweets 7K times a day. Why do you think I'm afraid of you? Come on the stream. Such a big man. Read Magaphonics' logs. Oh my God, Magaphonics got banned. Bro, he's gonna come after me next? No, he's not, dude. You're his #1. Oh my God, he got so horny to post. Fossabot clapped him, dude. This is Magaphonics' Super Bowl, okay? This is literally his Super Bowl. Here, I'll throw in the screenshot of this too. Why not? Send him back that video of his eyes rolling high on Ket. Yeah, I blocked you, Elon Musk, at Elon Musk, because you bought this website and forced everyone to see your dumbass tweets 7K times a day. Why do you think I'm afraid of you? Come on the stream if you're such a big man. Anyway, all this guy does is tweet all day, man. Why are you beefing with the president? I don't know. Yeah, I blocked you, Elon Musk, because you bought this website and forced everyone to see your dumbass tweets 7K times a day. Why do you think I'm afraid of you? Come on the stream if you're such a big man. He's gonna buy Twitch? Oh God. Well, I guess I'll go somewhere else, you know? Elon blocked Hasanabi Productions? Wait, he did? Guys, every moment that Elon Musk is busy yelling at me is a moment that he's not able to gut Social Security. Okay? Who's really doing work here? Okay? Who's really doing work here? I'm trying to save the goddamn country. I'm just trying to make sure that the disabled and the elderly are not melted into biomatter, and you guys are out here. I'm taking one for the team, baby. I'm putting in more work than the Democrats ever did. This is real activism. Y'all never seen anything like it. If I can get Elon Musk to cry, on Twitter about how, you know, some random dumbass streamer doesn't like him, then, you know, it's great. I've done my job. When you started your career as a political commentator, is this what you imagined it would come to? No, I didn't even think that. As much as I am aware that the American government is an oligarchy, I never would have thought, I personally never would have thought that, like, Elon Musk would directly control the reins. Like, I didn't think it would be this out in the open. And I certainly thought that Americans would be at least a little bit smarter about this shit. Send him this. What is this?
Attack is too high. The noise gets too high currently.
Why are you so buff? Is it necessary?
What? I don't know. I like working out. Because
y'all are trying to get banned. Like, he might not ban me, but he will ban you. You know that, right? I mean, he might ban me too. But just saying, he will send a drone, and if you show him that. Hold on, I'm posting about this on my Instagram too. Yeah, just take off your shirt and ban me. What? I love how he still shows up on the side tab even though he's blocked. I mean, yeah, that's normal. Have you considered Sam Cedering Musk by providing his baby moms an opportunity to talk to Elon since he keeps ghosting them? No, I'm not gonna do that. I would much rather talk to him directly.
It's the velvet touches against the hoops. Thanks, Derek. Well, often we talk about
Elon Musk is probably already hitting up the engineers to be like, deboost this tweet real quick. Immediate. Stop showing this tweet on the timeline. Make this tweet invisible, please. Yeah, initially I posted this. Where is it? This literally pays someone to power level his character in Path of Exile 2 Lamau. What do you mean I'm a fraud? Elon, I challenge you to a duel in Elden Ring. I will cook your fat rolling ass. 34,000 likes initially. Okay, and even Rage got into it. I'm not even gonna get into how interesting it is that Elon Musk is buddy with that specific Twitter account. That he's a loser. I'm not getting any notifications for your tweets. You're already shadow banned. I don't think that's how it works, man. He has an automatic community note on that photo, Lamau. Well, this photo is real. Both Elon and his spokesperson have said several times that this was not intentional. They do not know each other, and she photobombed him. I think his app is built like shit. It is. I'm not shadow banned, okay? You guys are being crazy. It's probably because I'm like, it's probably because I am tweeting up a storm right now. That's probably what it is. But yeah, all right. Let's move on from the Jasmine Crockett saga, and let's instead talk about the Elon Musk saga. The final note I wanted to make on the Jasmine Crockett saga was this way of talking about it is the most cowardly way to approach the subject matter. She should have just like talked about how stupid and hypocritical Republicans are, but instead she's like, I wasn't thinking about governor's condition. I was thinking about the planes, trains, and automobiles he used to transfer migrants into communities led by black mayors, deliberately stoking tension and fear among the most vulnerable. Literally, the next line I said was, he was a hot-ass mess, referencing his terrible policies. At no point did I mention or allude to his condition. So I'm even more appalled at the very people who unequivocally support Trump, a man known for racially insensitive nicknames and mocking those with disabilities, are now outraged. All people, not just your political adversaries. Finally, this is yet another distraction. Instead of obsessing over and hanging on to my every word, maybe my political vote should focus on doing the work of the people who elected us to improve their lives. Yeah, no one believes this explanation. You should have just been like, you know, you should have just stuck to, yeah, nobody cares about this. Stop being soy. Okay? And now the Republicans are moving on to censure Jasmine Crockett. Relevant. What is this?
Good idea for an electric jet.
Pedophile says, what? Get away from me.
Yeah, good idea for an electric jet.
Pedophile says, what? Get away from me.
Guess every moment spends crying on Twitter is a moment away. Hold on. I'm fucking posting on Instagram. Oh, censoring seems a little more than a formal scolding. Are there actual any penalties? No, it's just scolding. It is what it is. Elon Musk is so funny because just like the rest of these animals, okay, these billionaire parasites, he could just have kept quiet, you know, moved in silence and did his damn thing behind closed doors, but he is so desperate for people to adore him, and he doesn't care who those people are. Like, it doesn't matter if it's the biggest loser of all time. It doesn't matter if it's like a cryptocurrency dumbass or whatever. He's gonna get that attention anywhere he can. Yeah, Randy Weber is introducing a censure resolution against Jasmine Crockett for calling Texas Governor Greg Abbott Hot Wheels. Draft resolution obtained by Fox News. Wait, I don't see your last tweets on my feed. What do you mean? Like when you go to my profile, it doesn't show up? Maybe he deleted them. I doubt it though. I think the reason why you're not seeing it is because it's like, the reason why you are not seeing the tweets is because it's I'm tweeting a lot and the website is broken. That's what it is. The website is broken. Don't attribute malice immediately to a much simpler explanation, which is that he broke the website. Chad, if you have Elon blocked, it won't show up in the notifications. If you have post notifications for Hassan, yeah, most of you guys also probably blocked Elon as well. So yeah, that's probably the reason why it's not showing up, myself included. Aren't there only like 3 people working at Twitter now? One of them is in a constant K-hole. I mean, Elon Musk is never working. Let's be real. But yeah, all of this started the Elon Musk saga. Let's talk about it. Okay, I am under attack by a billionaire, by the real. Hold on. That is what the camera turned to. The last image that it had on it. Oh shit! It started. Started recording? What the fuck? Uh-oh. How do I turn this off? Alright, I'm gonna turn the camera off and then turn it on again. Hold on. God damn it. Why isn't it fucking straight? Oh, there it is. I think I fixed it. I hope I fixed it. It's Hassan, but no green screen? Yeah, that's what it is. Hold on. Uppies. Elon Musk hacked me. Yeah. Okay, this is better. It works now. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm under attack by the real president of the United States of America, by the wealthiest person on the planet, Elon Musk. All of this started when baby formula breast milk stealer of Blizzard, allegedly, Grums, a 60-year-old man, decided to post this. You can tell a lot about Ubisoft at Ubisoft with how much money they are throwing at terrorist platforming streamers. Okay? That was Grums, who has been on a conquest to attack Assassin's Creed Shadows. He's been on a journey, and it's been relatively unsuccessful so far. Having said that, he's still trying. Elon Musk, being the absolute loser that he is, that spends way too much time on his own platform that he purchased for incredibly narcissistic reasons, turned around and replied to it saying, Hassan is a fraud. Then he doubled down, double tweeted, and said sellout would be more accurate. Objectively, he's promoting a terrible game just for the money. To which I screenshotted and quote retweeted, this bitch literally paid someone to power level his character in Path of Exile 2, Lamau. What do you mean I'm a fraud? Elon, I challenge you to a duel in Elden Ring. I will cook your fat rolling ass. The reason why I said that is because Elon is not a real gamer, but a fake one. And also because From Software games are the only games that I'm above average competent in. Even though I am not the best gamer, Elden Ring is one of the games that I am decently good at. Elon Musk has also reportedly power leveled his Path of Exile 2 character to a degree where he was one of the top players, allegedly, in the entire planet. All of this was, of course, revealed by Crip and Quinn, and the work that they put in. Something that also Asmongold refused to call out until his own community called him out, because Elon Musk is a big Asmongold fan. You know, they're in the DMs of one another. Elon Musk basically exposed how fraudulent he was in that process. But it seems that Elon had not had enough, because he went back and he's still apparently crying about me. That's right. He turned around and called me a chicken shit R word. Again, 60-year-old man, by the way, just so you understand. Nobody pays Elon to play Path of Exile 2. How much money do they pay you for Assassin's Creed Shadows? Says Grums. These are the real shills and grifters. To which Elon Musk replied, Hassan is such a chicken shit R word that he blocked me. My editor also then joined in on the fun, said, and you're so fucking dumb that you thought that Asmongold's YouTube editors control what he does. Which was a good own. Congratulations. And then he double tweeted again and said, and showed that I was, blocking him, which I did. Of course I blocked him. For people wondering why Elon is so focused on Hassan, oh, that's funny. Oh no, everyone is posting replies. Everyone is Grimes posting in the replies.
The attack is too high. The noise gets too high currently.
Why are you so buff? Is it necessary?
What? I don't know. I like working out. Attack.
Now, what I find to be particularly strange about this saga is that no one said I would have him on the stream. I would 1v1 him in Elden Ring and expose him for the fraudulent gamer that he actually is. Now, I'm rusty on Elden Ring. I haven't played in a while. I don't know what the new metas are, and I still think I could cook his ass. That's number one. Number two, if we are not going to test our mettle in Elden Ring, we could also do it as interlocutors in the marketplace of ideas. I responded to him, a 60-year-old man who's the wealthiest person on the planet, and yet still a ginormous, narcissistic crybaby, with this. I said, yeah, I blocked you out, Elon Musk, because you bought this website and you forced everyone to see your dumbass tweets 7,000 times a day. Why do you think I'm afraid of you? Come on the stream if you're such a big man. Elon Musk, noticeably, has refused to respond to me at all. Perhaps it's because I've blocked him. So, in the interest of fairness, I will unblock him so he can reply to me directly if he chooses to do so. Elon Musk, of course, is a coward and narcissistic and thin-skinned. I will most likely subsequently block him once again because, as I said on this tweet, I hate seeing all the posts that he boosts on purpose. It is so annoying. If he actually had something interesting to say, if he actually had something worthwhile to say, perhaps I would not have issues with his tweets, but he tweets so much, instead of running any of his many companies. That's all he does, as a matter of fact. And as you guys know, I've talked about how Elon Musk is someone that I truly love because his ineptitude in broad daylight is single-handedly destroying the myth of meritocracy. Because if someone as stupid and as thin-skinned as Elon Musk can be the wealthiest person on the planet while demonstrating that he doesn't do anything real, then I truly hope that one day many Americans will start recognizing that perhaps these billionaires didn't actually work super hard or super smart for their wealth. That's it. You can even extrapolate further by looking at someone who is as silly as myself, as a Twitch streamer. I have also seen tremendous success. I am not particularly smart or uniquely charismatic, and yet I have been able to achieve financial success to the degree that I have. It's obvious that to even my haters that meritocracy is a lie. Jaubrey also had a funny tweet on this. The richest man on earth having a meltdown over a Twitch streamer just proves that no amount of money can make you any less of a fucking loser. There it is. This is the Elon Musk saga. There you have it. My challenge is still simple. Elon Musk, come on the stream. Show everybody how not afraid you are. Except, Elon Musk, you have backed away from challenges time and time again. When Jon Stewart said he wanted to have you on the broadcast, you said you'd be down to do it with, as long as it was in real time. Then you turned around and ran away from that. And you claimed that he was compromised. Elon Musk also backed away from fighting after entertaining the notion of fighting Mark Zuckerberg. Imagine being afraid of Mark Zuckerberg. Will Elon Musk run away from a challenge once again? Perhaps he will. Anytime, any place, Elon Musk. I'll come to you if necessary. The ball's in your court. I will say that every moment that he spends crying on Twitter about how a Twitch streamer blocked him is perhaps a moment that he is not spending on eviscerating the administrative state and potentially cutting Social Security. So I'm doing my part, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. What have you done today? Did I just make a YouTube video? Yes, I did. Can you make a Screw Elon meme coin? No. It does. One last note that I will mention is that I have talked time and time again about how Elon Musk has known who I am and has not been a big fan of me for quite a while. I've talked about this quite a bit. And people used to tell me, Hassan, you are so full of yourself. He has no idea. I knew, because of sources that I cannot reveal, that Elon Musk has actively had a grudge since I had his baby mama.
Break free with the new Opera GX, the browser that puts you in control, with a brand new design that frees up even more pixels for personalization and an inventory of features to up your game at every level. Like GX Control to help rein in your resources with integrated limiters for RAM, CPU, and network. A sidebar for direct access to your favorite side quests, streams, and posts. And built-in privacy tools like ad and tracker blockers and free no-log VPN. Check into GX Corner for the latest news, deals, and free games. But what really makes our hit different is mods, giving you the power to change everything from animated wallpapers to themes, sounds, music, and shaders, so you can change everything. Get Opera GX.
So, achieving this level of flavor, is it difficult?
Oh, you know. If we take the square fruit of lemon over lime... Wait! It's peeling day! I need more from you. It's just one fruit in front of the other. Sparkling ice. Anything but subtle.
Friend of the show, Grimes, on the broadcast.
The noise
where she said this. This could perhaps be one of the reasons as to why Elon Musk has been so angry and so resentful about my existence for quite some time.
because the attack is too high. The noise gets too high currently.
Why are you so buff? Is it necessary?
What? I don't know. I like working out.
Yeah. You miss Long Hair Hassan? Long Hair Hassan wasn't that good. I wasn't a fan of Long Hair Hassan. That was a particularly good hair day. Yeah, thank you. Anyway, let's see if he tweets a little bit more after this, but I think this will most likely shut him up again. Now, let's get back to the news. There's a certain amusement in Elon screenshotting your profile, complete with the PFP of your armpit. Yeah. He's gonna put a hit out on you. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, if it happens, it happens. It is also kind of funny that award-winning journalists are sending me the Elon Musk tweet. I won't name who, but nothing like two heavyweight fake gamers doing what they do best for the love of the sport. Yeah. Apparently, Grok thinks you would win in a 1v1 versus Elon and Elden Ring. Ask it 1v1 in Elden Ring, who would win, Elon Musk or Hassan Piker? I don't know how to use Grok, and I don't want to use Grok. I don't know how any of that works, but I'm not going to do that. If he responds, you have to end your response with, now be quiet. And then he will have to respond. If he takes you out, know that you died, how you lived, posting. Yeah. Someone asked Grok to analyze the Elon Musk fight. Predict the outcome of an Elden Ring 1v1 between Elon Musk and Hassan Piker is speculative, but can be informed by what we know about their gaming experience and approaches to the game. Elon Musk has publicly shared his Elden Ring build, which became infamous for his unconventional and suboptimal choices. His character at level 111 leaned heavily into intelligence deck setup with high stats in those areas. But his equipment choices, like wielding 2 shields, 2 swords, and a staff while wearing heavy armor, resulted in a heavy load status. That's why I said he was fat rolling, by the way. This severely limits mobility, making dodging slow and ineffective, a critical disadvantage in Elden Ring's fast-paced combat. Musk is claimed to have completed the game, suggesting some level of persistence, but his build indicates a reliance on summons or ranged magic, rather than mastery of mechanics like dodging or melee combat. Critics, including gamers and commentators, have mocked his setup for a lack of optimization, with some suggesting he might not even play as skillfully as his completion claim implies. Hassan Piker, on the other hand, is a Twitch streamer with significant gaming experience, having streamed Elden Ring extensively. He's known to have tackled the game's challenges live, including rage quitting after struggling with the NPC invader Matt Musk's. His streaming background suggests he's prioritized a more balanced or effective setup, likely medium armor for mobility and a mix of melee and magic tailored to his playstyle. In a 1v1 duel, Elden Ring heavily favors skill, reaction time, and build efficiency. Musk's heavy, clunky build would leave him vulnerable to a mobile opponent who can dodge and punish slow rolls. Hassan, with a streaming experience and likely better understanding of the game's meta, could exploit this by using a faster weapon like a katana. It is my weapon of choice. Or spacing Musk out with spells while avoiding his attacks. Musk's high intelligence and spell slots, e.g. Comet or Danny's Dark Moon, could pose a threat if he lands hits, but his lack of flash in the quick menu and poor mobility make it unlikely he'd outmaneuver Hassan. Given these factors, Hassan Piker would likely win. His practical experience and adaptability as a streamer give him an edge over Musk's quirky, inefficient build and questionable combat prowess. That said, it'd be a hilarious spectacle. Musk's fat rolling onto Hassan's blade while tweeting about it mid-fight. Why is Grok constantly dunking on Elon? This is the thing I don't understand. Doesn't Grok sometimes call him a pedophile and stuff? Also, once again, if you would like to support the stream, please subscribe, especially at a time when I might be assassinated by the wealthiest man on the planet. You can subscribe for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Use it on your favorite streamer who actually stakes it to the man, Elon Musk, no matter what the damaging consequences of that may be, considering the awesome power that he now holds, that he now maintains. What are the odds he actually comes on? Less than 0. Are you kidding me? He has never in a million years, entertained contentious conversation. Are you kidding me? He lost his shit at Don Lemon, dude. A lot of my naysayers would much rather stick to their own platforms and cry over and over again rather than talk to me directly. It's actually rare that he mentioned you. Yeah, yes and no. He has in the past, but only tangentially. This is one of the first instances where he's directly mentioned me. Burgles, thank you for the 50 bones. Yeah, he won't even do Jon Stewart, which I understand why he wouldn't do that. He would be thoroughly embarrassed by Jon Stewart, you know? So it is fun, though. It is fun that we can all unite.
Company.
Yeah, remember this conversation that took place with Elon and Don Lemon?
So you said if they kill the company, it's them. But doesn't the buck stop with you? I mean, you're on.
I have to say,
Cussy Connection, thank you for the 10 big ones.
choose your question carefully. There's 5 minutes left.
Odds on if he's watching the stream right now, there's a likelihood.
Okay, but so
Is this the question you want to ask?
Same question is you said that they are killing the company, but you're the head of the company. The buck doesn't stop with you.
I acquired X in order to preserve freedom of speech in America, the First Amendment. And I'm going to stick to that. And if that means making less money, so be it.
Style or substance. Or here's another choice. Don't stop until you have everything. In the GMC Sierra Denali Ultimate, we are professional grade.
You probably know Vistaprint for business cards, because we've printed them for millions of small businesses over the past 25 years. But we also print signs, stickers, shirts, and more. If you need it, we print it. Print it all with 20% off for new customers at Vistaprint.com.
So I have to be, listen, I'm just being honest, right? I'm not trying to, like, get you or anything. I was just surprised that you would blame other people for killing the company. I mean, when you say the buck stops with the President of the United States, regardless of what happens, right? So, why would that question upset you? You seem upset by it, are you?
I think...
And I'm not trying to upset you.
Well, you are upsetting me because the way you're phrasing questions, I think, is not cogent.
It's not what?
Not cogent.
Cogent.
Yes.
Go ahead.
If given a choice where an advertiser is saying, like, you have to censor all this content on the platform, irrespective of where their advertising appears, then our answer will be like, look, you can choose where you want your advertising, what you want your advertising to appear next to, but you can't insist on censorship of the entire platform. And if you insist on censorship of the entire platform, even where your advertising doesn't appear, then obviously we will not want them as an advertiser.
So what would you say to advertisers who have left the platform or who are considering coming back or not coming back? What would you like to say to them?
Well, first of all, almost all of our advertisers are coming back to the platform. So
nope,
it's a
they
very
didn't.
short list of advertisers who are not.
Yeah, the fantastic advertisers that come back onto the platform is Adolf Hitler, cryptocurrency schemes, and I don't know. I don't even get that many ads anymore, but it's usually like the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Yeah, porn ads. It's fantastic. Really cool stuff. Don't forget Nixon Groiper. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I get a lot of schizophrenic people on my ads. I'm not even using it as a pejorative, like literal schizophrenics. Yeah. Temu? I don't even think there's Temu ads. I never even see Temu ads. Yeah, advertisers are rushing back to advertise on Twitter so hard that Elon Musk is trying to sue advertisers to come back to the platform by force.
Not coming back to the platform. Our advertising revenue is rising rapidly. And our subscription revenue is rising rapidly, and I feel very optimistic about the future of the X platform.
Okay. Listen, honestly, I'm not meaning to offend you. You're an intense person. Where does that intensity come from?
I was born that way. And I had a tough childhood.
You did?
So, yeah.
How so?
So tough.
Right, Walter Isaacson goes into it in the book, and we only have a couple minutes left, so...
All right.
Too long to describe. So the 1 or 2 questions I can do, and then we'll have to call it.
Right. Okay. Again, I don't mean to upset you. Why are you just...
No, I have a whole room full of people waiting to meet with me.
Okay.
So we're just going over time.
Okay. All right. I understand that.
Anyway, I had a difficult childhood. My father was spectacularly wealthy. We basically had slaves. It was very difficult. Can everybody stop fucking demanding that I make meme coins? Are you guys so dumb? as to think that I would ever entertain making a fucking meme coin. What is... Yo, y'all are literally 0 IQ if you think I'm gonna fucking make a Elon coin. Shut... Oh my god. What is happening right now? No. It is the diametrical opposite of my values. The fuck? Like, what is going on? Are the Elon haters and Elon lovers alike all operating on the same brain wavelengths? What's going on? What is this? Did you... I did unblock Elon on the website he paid to make a right-wing echo chamber. It's ironic because did you see this clip of Elon crying because his hero hates him?
You know, there are American heroes who don't like this idea. Neil Armstrong, Gene Cernan have both testified against commercial spaceflight and the way that you're developing it, and I wonder what you think of that.
I was very sad to see that, because those guys are, yeah. You know, those guys are heroes of mine, so it's really tough. You know, I wish they would come and visit and see the hardware that we're doing here. And I think that would change their mind.
They inspired you to do this, didn't they?
Yes.
And to see them casting stones in your direction.
It's difficult.
Did you expect them to cheer you on?
Certainly hoping they would.
What are you trying to prove to them?
What I'm trying to do is to make a significant difference in spaceflight and help make spaceflight accessible to almost anyone. And I would hope for as much support in that direction as we can receive.
I didn't even know he was capable of crying. All right, moving on. Moving on from Elon. Yeah, this explains why he wants to kill NASA. He's like, if my heroes don't like me, then they can no longer have NASA. No more space travel for anybody. Only I get to do it. Only I get to have space travel.
Congrats.
No free kick, not yet. Advantage played. Well, with nothing coming from that, it will now be brought back for a free kick. Zinedine Zidane. They found a way through.
Oh, come on.
Work except the final part.
Yeah, it's close. Maybe just too much time to think about it.
Very quick to close down. Rodrigo. Well, they could have had a great chance, but not close to getting it right. Offside. Les Sommer. Given away by Real. Making good progress here, but that's where any chance of anything developing disappears. Camavinga. Zidane. Les Sommer. Great chance here. Terrific. Another goal. What a scoreline this is for them. And away we go again at 4-1 now. Rodrigo. Camavinga. And the keeper more than equal to it.
good strike.
Dumorne. The pass was read and the ball has changed hands. Carvajal. Real being afforded plenty of space here. And the promise of something happening is over. Lovely ball, could be a chance. And that's a great... Goalkeeping, that's what he's there for. As it goes, corner coming. And the keeper there seemed to know just where that was going. A chance now for a quick transition. Good ball in behind. Camavinga. Rodrigo. Eduardo Camavinga. Different angle of attack. And it's on now. I'm sure he thought he'd scored there. Great goalkeeping. And that is the final blast. Not the result that the visiting fans were hoping for. Sue, what did you make of it all?
They certainly weren't at their best today. The passing just wasn't incisive enough. They kept getting caught in possession, and they'll know a big improvement's needed for the next time out.
I'm gonna end stream on YouTube for a bit. If I end up playing Elden Ring, which I do want to, I'm gonna stream it on YouTube again tonight because I actually want to like make sure I save it.